Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, specifically with regards to the dominance, and discuss the effect that that has on the altcoin market. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. Now, over the last few months, we've talked about the bear market structure of Bitcoin. And one of the things we've mentioned many times is that upon the first lower low, okay, so upon the first lower low, the structure of the market completely changes. And that's where you'll see the alt Bitcoin pairs really start to bleed. Okay, we've talked about this a lot. We've done a lot of live streams on it. We did the video on the altcoin reckoning. I pulled up a video here, and I'll play a little clip for you, and then we're going to talk about why altcoins are riskier compared to, say, 6 months ago, or 12 months ago, or 18 months, or even 2 years ago. Why they are so risky right now. Okay, so let me play a clip from before we put in the lower low. If Bitcoin puts in a lower low, the structure of the market changes completely. Okay, the reason is because the bulls can no longer hold on to the thesis of, well, it's still a bull market because we're putting in higher lows. Then the bulls have to give some ground and say, okay, we're just in, it's just a long sideways phase. And again, they could be right, and it could play out to be like that, but at least the argument of it being a bull market could be over in the short term if we in fact end up putting in a lower low. And right now, so in this video, what we did was we compared the Bitcoin dominance today to where it was back in 2018. And here you can see the Bitcoin dominance was at 42%, right? 42%. And the reason why that's important is because in that video, we made the comparison to 2018. You can see it's playing out the exact same way. And even in that video, I told you, the story has been told before. All right, look at this. It's a very similar pattern. You have the higher lows, okay? And then once Bitcoin put in its first lower low, again, after being rejected off of the 200-day moving average, right? After being rejected off the 200-day SMA. So rejection off the 200-day, the lower low. June of 2018. And you guys know what happened in June of 2018 with respect to the Bitcoin dominance, right? I mean, this is when the Bitcoin dominance really started to go much higher. Look at what happened in June 2018. It started around 42% or so. But by the end of the month, the dominance was around 45 to 46%. Okay, so it had gone up a lot in only that 1 month, in June of 2018. Well, why was that so important? Well, the reason that was important was because Bitcoin had put in its lowered low. As we discussed in that video when we talked about the risk on altcoins, right? We talked about the risk on altcoins here. The Bitcoin dominance was only at 42%, and Bitcoin was at 39.5K, right? So we talked about the fact that, a lower low was likely coming, and then if it does come, the Bitcoin dominance should go up a lot. Now, the reason why we really need to digest this, and this is something that I think a lot of newcomers have a hard time, reconciling in their head. And it was hard for me when I first started in crypto as well. So I don't mean to say that it's not, but it's that you should consider the alt Bitcoin valuations more so than the alt USD valuations. Okay. So look at what happened to the Bitcoin dominance following June 2018. June 2018 was where Bitcoin put in a lower low. The Bitcoin dominance then went on a 3-month rally through September of 2018, where it topped out locally at 62%. 62%. So when I keep saying, on Twitter and on YouTube that the dominance needs to go higher and that alts are risky, some people have sort of thought that I just meant going up to 45%. No, this is only the beginning, right? I mean, we're probably looking at a couple more months at least of the dominance going up. Okay, so throughout the summer is what I would guess. My guess is that, and I'll draw something here that way when the time comes, we can reference it and see how close it is. We already talked about in this video that we expected the dominance to go much higher than 42%. So if we continue to to sort of play this out, and by the way, if you look at the Bitcoin dominance right here, this was before the breakout came, right? This is before that breakout. But now that it's broken out, I would still expect it to go much higher. So perhaps something like this, let's call it through this one went through September, but we're a month ahead of schedule this time. So let's say through August, right? So let's say this goes up through August, and it looks something like that. Then perhaps we'll see it steady, maybe start to go down for a little bit going into the end of the year. Something like that, perhaps. Okay. Now, I want to break down why the dominance is so important and how, as an investor, you can use this to better navigate crypto. Okay. And this is something we talk about on Into the Cryptoverse Premium all the time. And the advice on there that I've been saying for 5 months now is altcoins are incredibly risky, and the alt Bitcoin valuations are likely going to go down a lot. So this is why this is important. If you want exposure to the asset class, you need to figure out where you want to have that exposure, right? You want to have it on Bitcoin, you want to have it on Ethereum, do you want it to be on altcoins? But if there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the Bitcoin dominance should go up, then it wouldn't make a lot of sense to have a huge percentage of that into altcoins. Why not? Well, if Bitcoin dominance is going up, that means all Bitcoin valuations are going down. So why would you want to put a lot of money on something that's more risky than Bitcoin, which will also likely give you a worse return in the short term than Bitcoin? Okay, so you're basically taking you're making a conscious decision and saying, you know what, I'm going to take on more risk, and I'm probably going to get less reward. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. So that's why you have to understand where the Bitcoin dominance is likely going to go, right? So we already speculated that upon the first lower low by Bitcoin, that the Bitcoin dominance would go up. And now we've seen that play out, right? So we had a low, a higher low, rejection off the 200-day, failure to put in a lower low again, or a higher low again, followed by a new low. Same thing. Now, what happened in 2018 after that? Bitcoin rallied back up to the 200-day. But guess what? Here's the thing about it, though. It doesn't matter which way Bitcoin goes. Bitcoin dominance is likely going to go higher. Why? We're in a bear market. We put in a lower low for sure. I mean, we've been in a bear market for at least since November. Now it's been proven to the bulls because we put in a lower low. So if we know that Bitcoin's in a bear market, which I think we've presented the evidence for many times on the channel, if we know that Bitcoin's in a bear market, put in the lower low, the Bitcoin dominance has already started the breakout. My guess is it's only just begun. Therefore, all Bitcoin valuations are likely going to bleed. Now, why does that matter again? So the first reason, again, as I said, is that if all Bitcoin valuations are going to bleed, then you're almost just better off just being in a Bitcoin if you're going to be in crypto, right? Rather than be knee deep in tons of altcoins. And the reason I say that is because if Bitcoin USD goes down, alt USD valuations are likely going to go down more. But if Bitcoin USD pumps, then alt USD valuations will likely pump as well, but they probably won't keep pace with Bitcoin. Look at what happened in 2018, right? Bitcoin went back up to the 200-day SMA. Today, that would correspond to Bitcoin going back over $40,000. So let's imagine a scenario. If we're watching this video in, say, 3 months, let's imagine a scenario where Bitcoin does go back up to $40,000 and it goes back to the 200-day. And if it gets rejected there, it didn't matter. Even though Bitcoin went up and got rejected, the Bitcoin dominance continued to go up in 2018, even though Bitcoin went up. Altcoins fundamentally lacked the confidence because Bitcoin was in a bear market. It had been proven. The bulls had been, they had no more case for it being a bull market anymore upon the first lower low. And so if alts are putting in lower valuations against Bitcoin and Bitcoin is staying steady, then it just makes more sense to be in Bitcoin. And here's the other reason. Let's suppose that you have an altcoin, okay? And you first have to understand, and I think you first have to admit to yourself that Bitcoin controls the market, right? So if you agree with me that Bitcoin controls the market, then we could probably agree that if Bitcoin goes down, alts will likely go down quicker. And we've seen that happen, okay? Like week after week, day after day. Look at the alt Bitcoin valuations. These are alt Bitcoin valuations right here. Look, Ether Bitcoin, Link Bitcoin, ADA Bitcoin, Uni Bitcoin, Aave Bitcoin, they're all basically just going down almost day in and day out. So if we agree that Bitcoin controls the market, then we could say that as long as Bitcoin goes down, alts are going to be riskier, so they're going to go down more. But if Bitcoin goes up, alts are likely not going to keep pace with it, right? I mean, they'll go up against the US dollar, but they won't necessarily go up against Bitcoin. So here's the trick, right? Here's the trick. Let's suppose you don't like holding cash because you know that it's going to lose value to inflation. I do think there's a reason to hold cash right now. I mean, I think cash is king in this current market conditions, but I also expect some bounces along the way. So let's suppose that you don't want to hold cash because you don't have no interest in it, and you would rather hold something else, okay? And you've decided you like crypto, so you want to hold crypto. Well, here's the thing. If you hold alts in 3 months, their Bitcoin valuations, there's a good chance they're going to be down another 50% potentially, right? Another 50% down in 3 months. Now, the reason why that's important is because what happens if Bitcoin rallies, right? What happens if it rallies? Does that mean you missed out on the altcoins? Likely not. If you have alts and you put them into Bitcoin, okay, so let's suppose you put those alts into Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin goes up 2x, there's a good chance alts won't keep pace with it because we're just not in that phase of the market, right? We're just simply not. Bitcoin has to prove strength until alts are going to, care at all about this market. But if Bitcoin goes down, alts also go down quicker than Bitcoin. So the idea is that, altcoins, what you have right now, or maybe if you've taken my advice over the past several months, that they're incredibly risky and Bitcoin's a lot safer. Bitcoin basically means that if you put it in Bitcoin, it doesn't really matter if Bitcoin goes up or down. Alts will likely bleed against Bitcoin. So you don't have to worry about it, right? You get that exposure to the asset class in case Bitcoin goes back up, but you don't have to worry about the downside risk that comes with altcoins because we know during this phase of the market, alts are likely just going to keep bleeding against Bitcoin. And every single time I make this video, there's obviously a lot of trolling comments because everyone's really attached to their altcoins. And I mean, who isn't at some point, right? But remember, do not marry an altcoin. Bitcoin will be the likely one to put in an all-time high first, okay? So you should consider that the Bitcoin dominance is likely going to go up. And if you've come to reconcile that, if you come to agree with that, then you should expect alts to bleed against Bitcoin, regardless of the direction that Bitcoin goes. So I think a lot of us can agree that no one knows what's going to happen in the short term, right? Including myself, right? I have no idea what's going to happen in the short term. But what I will say is that no matter what happens, I would expect the Bitcoin dominance to go up. Therefore, I'm expecting alt Bitcoin valuations to bleed. Now, one of the things you'll recognize if you look at some alt Bitcoin valuations, let's go look at Ether. I don't really consider Ether an alt, but look at it. I mean, look at it, right? It's the same pattern that Bitcoin showed us in 2021, right? I mean, it's the same exact pattern. When we talk about these distribution patterns, these like Wyckoff distribution patterns, you can see it clear as day. It's the same thing, right? Here's Bitcoin's Wyckoff distribution before it went back down. Look at Ether Bitcoin. It's the same. It's the same exact pattern. Look at the Bitcoin dominance. You might say that's not the same pattern. What's been talking about? It's inverted. It's inverted, but it's the same thing. You can visualize this better by looking at 100 minus the Bitcoin. Sorry, I meant to put in this. Look at 100 minus the Bitcoin dominance. So this is the altcoin dominance, including ETH. It's the same distribution pattern, right? It doesn't mean that it won't pick back up and come back up later, but right now I think it's sort of finalizing this distribution phase. So if you look at the fact that in 2018, upon Bitcoin's first lower low, the Bitcoin dominance went up, right? It went up a lot. It's going up right now. We're literally watching it go up as I make this video, right? So I just wanted to do an update because it is going in the direction that we thought it would. You can see the same thing playing out. The Wyckoff distribution pattern of Ether Bitcoin, of the altcoin dominance is playing out the exact same way that Bitcoin USD did in 2021. The first lower low is occurring a month before it did in 2018. And just like 2018, the Bitcoin dominance is going up just 1 month sooner because the lower low came 1 month sooner. So, I just want to stress yet again that altcoins remain incredibly risky. Look at this. Look at what Bitcoin did in 2018 after the lower low. 3 months later, the price was the same, and more than 3 months later. I mean, this is like going from June until November. So you're talking about going towards basically the end of the year. The price of Bitcoin was still the same price, but the Bitcoin dominance was so much higher by the end of the year. So alts bled against Bitcoin during that time, even though Bitcoin went sideways. Bitcoin washes altcoins out during this phase. Okay, so if Bitcoin has these sort of like pathetic pumps back up to the 200-day moving average, it's where altcoins get completely washed out. Okay, so if you see that happen again today,
right? If Bitcoin gets that relief rally back up to the 200-day at some point, and then it comes back down and does something like this, right? This is where altcoins get completely washed out. So the point, in 3 months' time, by the end of the summer, there is a chance that Bitcoin could still be around $30,000, right? There's a chance. Okay, I mean, there's also a good chance we go to the 200-week moving average and we have our date with Destiny. But there's a chance that we're still at 30K in 3 months. And if we're at 30K in 3 months, I would guess that most altcoins are going to be significantly down against Bitcoin. It happened in 2018, even though people didn't want to believe it was happening, and it's happening right now. You're watching the dominance go up as we speak, right? As we speak, you're watching the Wyckoff distribution pattern play out, inverted, okay? You can see it with the altcoin dominance, and you can see the same thing on the Ether Bitcoin pair. Right? I mean, it's the same exact thing. It's the same pattern we've seen over and over and over. Look, I've heard Wyckoff distribution enough times over the last 2 years to last me a lifetime. Right? To last me a lifetime. I'm completely over it, and I want nothing more than for us to go explore other patterns. But I will say that the riskiest thing right now are altcoins. Okay? Now, here's where it gets tricky, because there's a good chance in the coming weeks Bitcoin will have a relief rally, right? So there's a good chance you'll see that happen. And there's also a good chance that people will use that opportunity to say, look, my altcoins are doing fine. I'm not asking you to look at their altcoin USD valuations. So let's not think about that one. Alt USD, it's completely irrelevant because it only depends on Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up, you would expect alt USD pairs to go up, right? You would expect that. It just drags up the market with it. But look at the alt Bitcoin pair, okay? You go look at that and you tell me it's not in a downtrend. Ether Bitcoin is the last one to fall when it comes to it. You go look at what happened in 2018. You can see the deterioration of the Ether Bitcoin pair. It started in July, 1 month after the lower low. So if we play out the same thing, then you're looking either late this month or sometime in early June. You're looking at the Ether Bitcoin pair coming back into this, maybe this channel over here. Okay, we followed this channel, this trend line on this channel quite a bit. So you're looking at it, and maybe I should go to a linear scale. You're looking at this probably falling back down, potentially back down to 0.04, 0.05. Okay, so with all that in mind, I mean, I'm not doing it to scare you. I'm basically just saying, look, guys, I've lived through this enough times to at least know how it's worked in the past. And I cannot guarantee that it's going to play out in the same exact way this time. Certainly I cannot, and I don't claim to. I'm just saying I have felt the pain of it in the past, and the one way that I've learned to better navigate the cryptoverse is when we're in a bear market, cash is king, and Bitcoin is really where you want to be to protect yourself from the safety or to protect yourself from the risk that is the altcoin market. Okay, so please recognize that all Bitcoin valuations have a long way to go down if the bear market is going to continue dragging on, which does seem like a likely possibility. And just to give you a few examples, I mean, Ether Bitcoin is relatively elevated. It could come down easily for a while, take a breather. ADA Bitcoin, I mean, look at it. It's an oscillator. It could easily drop, 50, 60, 70%. Uni Bitcoin, I mean, look, guys, I mean, these are all just bleeding, right? They're all just bleeding like crazy. Aave Bitcoin, you're going to be hard pressed to not find an altcoin right now that's not just systematically bleeding against Bitcoin. We know their USD valuations are going down, right? But their Bitcoin valuations are going down. So Bitcoin's a safer play, right? Bitcoin's a safer play, and alts are losing value against Bitcoin. Theta Bitcoin is going down. AVAX Bitcoin is going down. They're all basically going down. Solana Bitcoin is going down. So that basically shows you that the risk on the altcoin market remains high. The Bitcoin dominance is likely going to head much higher than 40. I mean, back then it was 42%. Now it's 45%. My guess is by the end of the summer, this could easily be north of 55%. As crazy as that sounds. I think it could easily be 55% or something. So we've seen this story before. It's been told many times. I'm going to assume the ending is going to be the same, and that altcoins will bleed against Bitcoin for the next several months, regardless of what direction Bitcoin goes. So if you want some safety and not knowing where Bitcoin's going to go, because no one really does, at least being in Bitcoin allows you to have exposure to the asset class without taking all the unnecessary risk with a lot of the altcoins, which are likely just going to bleed against Bitcoin over the next several months. And by the way, when we made this video, this was several weeks ago. This was when Bitcoin was still at 40K. Okay, now Bitcoin's below 30K and the Bitcoin dominance has gone up from 42 to 45%. So we're, it's gone up from 42 to 45. Maybe the next time I make this video, it'll be at 48 and we'll check in yet again and see where we are. But I do think the same thing is playing out that we've seen happen many times in the past. So do be prepared for it. You couple that with everything macro going on, all the bear stuff in terms of the Fed, in terms of the stock market just basically crumbling. It makes sense, right? It makes sense that altcoins will likely lose against Bitcoin. Best case scenario, Bitcoin pumps back up, but then altcoins still likely get left behind. So remember, no matter what Bitcoin does, alt Bitcoin valuations are more likely going to bleed. Maybe not on a daily time frame, but on a weekly time frame, more or less, you'll likely see them continue trending down for several months to come. And here's the interesting thing, okay? This is where I think a lot of people maybe miss this part of it. And I think part of the reason is because I'm probably not doing a good enough job of explaining it. It's probably on me. Why is the Bitcoin dominance so important? It's not just important in a bear market. It's not. Like there's actually, it's really good in a bull market too. It's just that most people join crypto after Bitcoin's parabolic rally is over, right? So then they don't see Bitcoin do anything, so they just stay away from it. It's a brutal cycle, right? Bitcoin pumps, everyone comes in, they buy Bitcoin, it's not doing anything, they buy altcoins pump, they make fun of Bitcoin, then Bitcoin goes down, and they make fun of Bitcoin going down, but then altcoins start to go down more, and then people start to say, well, why am I going to hold these altcoins when Bitcoin isn't nearly as volatile to the downside? So they go into Bitcoin, and then you rinse and repeat, and then Bitcoin goes parabolic again after the bear market finishes. But look at this. Bitcoin dominance went up here in a bear market, but Bitcoin dominance went up here in a Bitcoin bull market. In 2019, if you remember, if we go look at 2019, Bitcoin went up. It went up like 4x. The dominance still went up in the bull market. So I'm just basically saying, look, guys, the dominance could go up for a while because Bitcoin's in a bear market. Then maybe it stalls out for a bit. Then it could go up because Bitcoin's in a bull market and it's just leaving all the altcoins behind for a while. Okay? The thing is you're not likely going to see an alt season until the Bitcoin dominance is much higher. A lot of people are calling for an alt season. Where are you going to get an alt season, right? An alt season isn't just alt USD pairs going up. It also means the Bitcoin dominance is just tumbling. That's alt season. Okay, this is alt season. These phases over here when the Bitcoin dominance is going down really, really quickly. Because when Bitcoin's valuation against the US dollar goes down quickly, Bitcoin dominance goes up. And when Bitcoin goes up too quickly, Bitcoin dominance goes up. So this is what you're likely looking at. The Bitcoin dominance going up. Just to summarize, no one knows what's going to happen in the short term. But if Bitcoin goes up or down, the Bitcoin dominance likely goes up. If Bitcoin goes sideways, it washes altcoins out. So Bitcoin dominance still likely goes up. Alt Bitcoin valuations are likely going to bleed. Alt Ether valuations are likely going to bleed, but also Ether Bitcoin is likely going to bleed as well for a few months until we get through the bear market. And that's why we spend so much time talking about market cycle bottoms, okay? And trying to figure out when a market cycle bottom will occur, because upon the market cycle bottom, you could at least get a little bit more interested in altcoins. But even then, there's still a good chance that their valuations against Bitcoin could still bleed for a little while before ultimately having yet another alt season. I hope this has been informative. I know not everyone agrees with it, but again, when we made this video, not everyone agreed with it, and we got the lower low. Bitcoin dominance went up. Now that it's playing out, let's see if it continues to play out. My guess is that it will. My guess is that we're going to continue heading higher here, and people really need to pay attention to this, because by holding no Bitcoin, if you only are holding altcoins, you're basically taking on a lot more risk for likely a lot less reward. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. We have Into the Cryptoverse Premium sale going on right now at intothecryptoverse.com. You'll get access to weekly reports, 3 weekly videos. We have a whole website with on-chain data, not just for Bitcoin, but for altcoins too. We have derivatives data, social metrics, price data, logarithmic regression stuff. Go check it out, intothecryptoverse.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you next time. Bye.